right, back at 4:30, talking with Marc Faber, editor and publisher of the Gloom, Boom, and Doom report. So, Marc, talking about being defensive, we were talking a lot about cash, but in terms of equity sectors, defensive plays here in the U.S., you like the drug companies?
Well, I think the oil companies are inexpensive and the drug companies are not particularly expensive. Because in the U.S., yeah, they will have regulation, but with the aging of the population, the per capita expenditure for healthcare have only one way to go, and that is up. And then globally, say in the US, the per capita expenditure for healthcare is, say, $8,000 US. But overseas, in China and in India and Indonesia, is maybe $10 per capita.
Right.
And that will go up substantially with the aging of the population and with the increase in the standards of living. That will also happen to cosmetic companies. And anything that has to do with your body is in emerging economies going to be very attractive.
So like a
also,
Johnson & Johnson?
Yes, absolutely. Also like hospital management companies in Asia, because we have a cost advantage. Let's say if you need permanent care in the US or in Europe, it's very expensive. But in Asia, where wages are low, it's relatively inexpensive. So I think over time, insurance companies will be happy to ship sick people that need intensive care per Boeing 747 to Asia to take care of them in Asia.
Really?
Yeah, and I think a lot of patients, they rather be in a Bangkok hospital than in Brooklyn.
You believe that?
Yes, I believe that. I mean, already there's so many people that come to Thailand from Europe for dental care and for health care.
Now, we do stories about people who go overseas for surgery.
This is a big thing, medical tourism.
Well, do you think then with the healthcare reform that's potentially going underway in the United States, it's just going to ship more business overseas?
Well, I suppose so. I suppose so. But I'm not an expert on healthcare reform.
Right.
But I tell you, each time the government reforms something, it's usually for the worse.
All right.
That's my experience in life.
Okay. Not an expert maybe on healthcare reform, but you are really an expert in terms of calling market moves here. Let me ask you, is there something that...
I don't know about that.
Okay, I'll take it back. But in terms of what investors are chasing right now, is there something that you see that's been a dramatic move that investors are chasing that you think is just a really big mistake here? Could it be financials? We've seen dramatic moves there. I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, the financials were, of course, very depressed. And if you think of it logically, the financial sector gets money free of charge from the government, basically.
Right.
And the government essentially underwrites their mistakes. So if you and I have a business and the government lends us money free of charge, we can also do something and make money. I mean, I don't have a high respect for bankers, but you really would have to be dumb not to make any money when the government gives you money free of charge.
So when we talk
you can take big risks. If something goes wrong once again, they'll give you even more money.
So when we talk about Goldman making record profits, as they did in their most recent quarter, so what? No surprise?
Well, I think that Goldman deserves it because it's a well-run business. But the others frequently weren't very well run. And Goldman has, of course, special relationships. And as I said, I mean, I have to do with Goldman Sachs, and sometimes I joke about the partners of Goldman Sachs because they make so much money and the ordinary people in the US don't. But they are really a smart group of people. It's extremely smart, and it's like the Bloomberg employees, all very smart.
Well, thank you very much. But is it Goldman smart because of those relationships? You know the stories that have been out there. They're, you know, government and so on and so forth, former Goldman folks, Hank Paulson, you know, take your pick here.
Well, I don't think they're smart because of that, but they're smart at outsourcing people to other agencies so they have good contacts with agencies in the financial sector. And it's a very powerful firm worldwide.
All right.
And I'm not saying this in a negative sense. It's a fact of life.
Right, right. Let me ask you, though, among those financials that are still surviving on government lifelines, do you think that they're one of them potentially that won't be here in a few years?
Well, I think all of them won't be here in a few years when the government will go bust. The next station that the train arrives into the crisis is the government fails. And that will then be the end of everything. I mean, that's really... Then we have to have another interview. It will be a lot of fun.
That's the real Armageddon.
Yes, yes, that's the end. But maybe in 10 years, maybe in 5 years.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of things, a lot of volatility will happen in between. So it's not that, you know, we can build a bunker. and then the whole thing collapses. What's the use to have a bunker if the whole world collapses? When you get out of your bunker, there's nobody around.
What's left?
We might as well gamble.
All right, that's 5 to 10 years. I'm not going to worry about it right now. But 1 year from now, where do you see the S&P 500?
We have to ask Mr. Bernanke. But I think a year from now, the S&P will have traveled through a lot of volatility. Maybe we go up first to 1250 and then down again to 800. And maybe we first go down to 800 and then to 1250 or whatever it is. But I believe that actually,
just got a few
there are two schools.
Just got a few seconds.
Some economists, they say that the economic recovery will be very strong. I think that would be negative for stocks. I think the best for stocks is very weak economy, then there's more money printing.
Okay, and that backs it up.
Yes.
All right, we have to leave it there. Marc, always good to get some time with you. Thank you so much. Have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Marc Faber talking with us on this Tuesday.